Thank you, and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I will be talking about big data today. I come from the World Association of Newspapers. We have some 2,500 newspapers around the globe. And we see a highly big impact on the newspaper business because we gather so much big data. And I will give some examples from some of our member companies on how the impact is on job functions at media companies, etc. Also, I will be talking about AI and machine learning and how you actually can use the data. And also I will touch upon the need for regulation and a more normative direction. Internet of Things is another buzzword, and we see that more and more devices are being connected through the internet. And we see in 2020, we estimate that some 35 billion devices will be connected to the internet. And all of those devices, they are producing data. So we have this huge amount of big data. We talked and have been talking very much about Moore's law when it comes to the power of computing. We're not quite doubling the data every 18 months that Moore's law says applies to computing power, but we are still on an exponential curve. And as we see here in 2018, we have only been seeing the start of it. We will see much more data being generated in the years to come. I will touch upon some examples. One is from one of our members, the Washington Post. The Post was acquired by Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. And also, I will give another perspective on big data and AI delivered by Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and he has also bought a newspaper. It seems to be the new trend that those e-commerce shops, they also want some real paper in their hand, so he bought the South China Morning Post. If we look at the Washington Post and look at what happened when Jeff Bezos took over the Washington Post, what he said, why don't we look at editorial content as products in an e-commerce shop? Why don't we use the Amazon recommendation engine and apply it to the news website? And so he did. And what we saw was that it created a great uplift in the engagement of the readers and the click-through rates from one article to the other. And they built an algorithm that split-tested various headlines, various photos in combination, and then the computer by itself can pick the story that has the greatest impact on readership and engagement on the website. And you see, if you visit the Washington Post website today, you will see recommendations. And when you visit for the second and the third time, they will start personalize the recommendations so it fits to your personal attributes. Also, they started to look at the advertisement side of the newspaper, and well, we all know about the ads that follows us when we have visited a booking engine and we go to a news website. We see ads from booking engines all over the place. But they said we might be able to do this a little more intelligent, so they started also to personalize the messages from the advertisers, and they saw an even greater uplift when it came to monetizing in the advertisement space on the newspaper websites. And what they're working at right now at the Washington Post, they are working on a virality score that can predict the quality of the news content. And it gives the editors the possibility of identifying content that is underperforming and create and facilitates double loop learning in the newsroom. Also, what we see now, that they are applying artificial intelligence in order to create better headlines done by computers. This system is not fully grown up by now, but I think that in a few years we will see that the computers can create a more creative headline than the human beings are able to. Also, we see auto-generated text. If we have structured data that can be from a listed company, their profit statements, it can be from sports events like football. If you have structured data, you can actually ask a computer to write the article. And where does that leave us all? Well, also let me give you another example. This is from a small market in Norway where they asked computer to personalize the editorial newsletters. And what they saw was that there was an uplift in the opening rate of newsletters when you made them personalized instead of manually curated. And also, they have made a program where you use the big data to curate the front page of the newspaper, and then again we saw that the machine learning algorithms outperforms human curation on the website when you split test the two methods. And back to where this leaves us, and back to Jack Ma. He says, we shouldn't be learning and teaching our young kids and the coming generations things that can be done by computers. He says mathematics, things like that will be done by computers anymore in the future. So it's much more important that we educate by giving the next generation the right values, the ability of independent thinking and the creativity. And I think the same applies for journalism, that yes, you can write, a computer can write an article out of structured data, but the innovative, the investigative, and the quality journalism is going to be the scarce resource in the future. So there's still need for the human touch within journalism, but we have to focus on the high quality content and let the machines do the curation and the newsletters and so forth. Also, let's talk a little bit about the problems with data. We all know this guy who went in front of the US Congress a few weeks ago. And we see actually some new winds are blowing. We see that Mark Zuckerberg went to Congress. We see that the European Union Commissioner of Competition is laying arms with the big tech platforms. And we see new regulations being implemented this month in the EU. It is called the General Data Protection Regulation, and it's really going to have significant impact on how we handle data within businesses. So the new rules in the European Union is now that everybody has to obtain consent for customers and clients. You can only store data that has a relevant purpose. You must protect the data you store, and the people need to have access to that data and can ask Google or Facebook to erase and delete the data. And since Europe is a big region with 500 million people, we expect that all global companies will apply to these rules, because otherwise you can't operate in Europe. And I think this is an important lesson today is, yes, we can do a lot with big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, but we also have to look at the boundaries. We cannot only let it be to the market to decide how businesses use our data. It is our data, and we need to take this back. But also, we have to acknowledge that societies and businesses that embrace the digital transformation and the digitization of businesses, they are the ones that make the most profit. And the societies that embraces this are the societies that will win in the future. So this is my conclusions. We see a lot of data out there, and we haven't seen nothing yet. And we see that the technology, the predictive technologies, they win in all sectors. But we need to now to focus on the legal, the societal, and the educational issues of the use of data. Thank you so much.